Okay, welcome everybody. So what I want to do right now is run you through a quick overview or example of the workshop that I'm going to ask you to do today. So we have a sample essay here, and I'm going to talk about two things. I'm going to first talk about formatting, and then I'm going to talk about commenting and asking questions. So let's quickly go ahead and do formatting. I'm going to do Command A. The formatting looks okay, but everything needs to be in 12-point font. The title needs to be centered, so I'm going to go ahead and center it here. And then all of this here actually also needs to be in double spaced. So not just double spacing between paragraphs, but also the entire thing. So I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to go over here to spacing. I'm going to click on double space. And now we have a pretty good looking essay here, as you can see. So perfect. When it comes to titles, you want to put the essay title in quotation marks, and you need the title of the essay, but you also need the topic. So basically what this essay is doing is analyzing identity in how it feels to be colored me. So you need those two elements in any title. You could be more creative if you want, but make sure you have both of those. So right now we're going to take a look at the essay, and we're going to get an idea of where this essay can use some improvement. And what you're going to do is you're going to also go ahead and do the same technique where you comment on a peer's paper. You can do this for yourself if you'd like, especially if you're absent, you'll need to do this for yourself. But the idea is to ask questions. And it's a lot easier to ask questions of someone else's work than of your own, because we're more critical of other people and less critical of ourselves. So here we go. Let's start reading it. It says, in the 1928 essay, How It Feels to Be Colored Me, by Zora Neale Hurston, she describes her experience of being a black woman surrounded by white people. Fantastic. So far, so good. Don't really have any questions. Let's keep reading. She explains her lonely struggles of feeling left out. Okay, it's a little bit wordy. I wonder if this person can you simplify a little bit? Or different, left out or different. So is it one or the other? Maybe can you focus on one or the other? Or is there a different way to phrase this? Like left out because she's different, right? And is the difference because of skin color? Or what is the reason for the difference, as this person states? Okay. Different compared to white people. So it's kind of implied there. And again, some of these questions that I'm asking here, this writer may feel they don't need to answer them, and that's completely okay. The idea is to practice asking those questions. The more questions you can ask, the easier it's going to be to spot, inefficiencies in your writing. So different compared to white people, and how different her life was before she moved to Jacksonville. So the sentence kind of got a little bit clunky there. I'm going to probably want to ask, how different, how was her life different before she moved to Jacksonville? So I'm going to go ahead and make a comment here. How was her life different before she moved to Jacksonville? I'd also want to know, where did she live? And so good writing is going to be able to get a lot of this information into these sentences without it, becoming a much longer essay. By the way, in order to make a comment, you're going to click on, my computer, I do control click. So on your computer, you probably have a similar function. You can also, let's say, for example, you highlight here, I think you can also go up to insert and go to comment down here. So there's different ways to go ahead and do this. Let's keep reading. Before moving to a predominantly white neighborhood in Jacksonville, so this is a little redundant already. I wonder if they can combine this. Can you combine this thought with the previous sentence? So when we start to notice that a writer is repeating words like different, for example, or Jacksonville, we know they're kind of repeating ideas, and that's a place to start to clean up the writing a little bit. So before moving to a predominantly white neighborhood in Jacksonville, she felt like the color of her skin didn't define who she was. She had no limitations and she felt free. Okay. So they're going to want to say something like, however, right? You need some kind of transition word. So say however, her skin color never mattered. Okay. So actually, that's not going to work there because they don't explain what happens once they move to Jacksonville. Um, so one thing where we probably see that this person's missing is a clear thesis. Remember, the essay asks you to answer the question, how does um, Hurston define her identity or something along those lines? So I'm just going to put a quick comment, need thesis, and then I'll put a question here. How exactly then does Hurston define who she is? So it sounds like this person is saying something like, she has these struggles. She never really was defined by race, but then she moved to Jacksonville and it seemed to kind of like stand out. But I'm still not sure exactly what the author here of this essay is trying to argue. So I'm just writing these questions to get them to, elaborate a little bit and clarify their ideas. But you definitely need that thesis statement in the introduction paragraph, okay? Let's see here. So, okay, let's keep reading. There are many ways that Hurston responds to being black. Okay, interesting. However, one way she responds to it is by physically standing out. So she's purposely standing out, or I think this person's topic sentence may be a little bit off. What they need to do is say, there are many ways that Hurston defines who she is, right? Isn't that the kind of the purpose of the essay? Not to talk about how she responds to being black, but how she defines what it means to be her as a black woman. So I think it's important to clarify that. However, one way she responds to it is by physically standing out. So what does this mean? She's responding to her being black by standing out? Like, is she physically like trying to get people to see her? Is she purposely trying to get people to notice her? Or is this a result of her skin color? So I'm a little confused where this is going. To her, it was never a thought that she was much different from everyone else. Okay. To her, like growing up, is that what you're referring to here? I think that's what this person means. Do you mean when she was growing up before she lived in Jacksonville? Okay. So again, we're just asking questions just to get clarification. And then what's going to happen when you have, enough questions and you pass this back to your partner, they're going to look at it and they're going to decide whether they want to answer these questions or not, or it's going to hopefully spark some, questions in their own mind about, okay, well, how do I clarify these ideas? So to her, it was never a thought that she was much different from anyone else, though it didn't stop her from being herself. So, okay, probably don't need this transition word. I would say cut this out. Obviously, this workshop's a little bit more than just questioning because I'm trying to kind of run you through what I think about when I'm going and looking at an essay like this. Because these are kind of the same, right? To her, it was never a thought that she was much different. I would just say, like, therefore, it didn't stop her from being herself. So I'd change this word to therefore, right? As a result, she was herself. Race didn't impact her in that regard. Okay, so we're still a little clearer exactly. I think this person's topic sentence is something more along the lines of, growing up, Hurston never defined herself by her race, right? That's kind of the main idea that I think this writer is trying to get at here. Topic sentences are really, really important. A sentence that clearly states at the beginning of each paragraph exactly what you're trying to explain. So in the quote, I have no separate feeling about being an American citizen and colored. I am merely a fragment of the great soul that surges within the boundaries. Ooh, this is a long quote. Okay. So one recommendation I have for you is try to keep your quotes, excuse me, I'm getting sun in my face. Try to keep your quotes relatively short. So even just like this part here probably is going to be enough to convey, what you're trying to express. So keep quotes short, and that will make it easier both for you and for the reader. Or choose the part of the quote that you think is most important. Let's take a look at the analysis here. Also, in regards to lead-ins, this right here is a lead-in. And so rather than saying in the quote, how about saying something like Hurston states, okay? And then say, Hurston says, I have no separate feeling about being an American citizen and colored, okay? But some lead-ins are better than others. Okay. Let's see here in the quote. So down here, so we would say Hurston states blah 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 blah, and then right here we can say this shows, okay, or something along those lines. It's up to you if you want to keep it. Keep it. How much? So this shows how much she pushes through. Okay, and it shows who she is. Well, I'm going to ask you, how does it show that? So you need to make sure you explain that. So how does it show that she is pushing through? Okay. Again, this is a workshop meant to get you to ask questions, so you can kind of listen to the other things I'm saying here, but really what I want you guys to be doing is to do the questioning part. And I'm going to wrap this up right now, by the way. And it shows who she is along with her own rights of being. So I need you to tell me. Don't tell me it shows who she is. I want you to tell me what it shows, right? Who does she say she is then? Right? What is she saying is her identity, along with her own rights of being an American citizen? This quote reveals, despite going through feelings of discrimination or feeling different compared to the rest, in the end, she herself knows her own identity and knows who she is. Okay. So rather than saying she knows her identity, tell me what exactly is that identity? What exactly did she reveal about her identity? Okay, in this quote. Even if sometimes she feels like she has no identity. Okay, she knows she will always be a colored American citizen. Okay, but I thought in this quote, so this is a good example of how the commentary really doesn't match up with the quote, because the quote says, I have no separate feeling about being an American and being colored. To me, it seems like she's just saying she's just a person. But this analysis here, she knows she will always be a colored American, makes it seem like her race really does define her. And if you look at the topic sentence here that we wrote, Hurston never defined herself by their race. Then now the essay becomes a little bit clunky and hard to follow. So a clear topic sentence is really important. Short quotes, solid analysis that clearly explains the quote, and doesn't get off topic. So what I want you guys to do today is to practice asking questions to a partner. You're going to go ahead and do the same thing on their document. You're going to use the commentary feature on Google Docs. I want you to ask at least 15 questions. So you're going to read their whole essay. We didn't obviously read this entire essay, but read their whole essay and give them something to think about. And then what you're going to do is, once your partner is done with your work, you're going to go back and look at those questions and see if you can start making some revisions, okay? This is a really important process to writing because you're eliciting feedback from someone else. You're being forced to, look back over your work, and that's what the revision process is all about. Revision means to look again, revise. And the more times you look at your work, probably the better it's going to get. So that's the goal for the day. I hope this was helpful. And if you have questions, raise your hand and I'll be over to help you. Thanks for watching.